Stay African.
Good afternoon and welcome to Pan-African News. We are coming to you from our studios in Abilinkwe 48 Swanika Street here in Accra. We are live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We are also live on YouTube at Pan-African Television. Coming up for the next 1 hour, 10-year-old boy killed for money rituals laid to rest. Meanwhile, the family resounds call for justice. Key national installations, including the Jubilee House, identified as standing in the country's earthquake fault lines, will speak with experts to look at dangers posed to these installations. Also in this bulletin, we'll go on a ride on the Temamoto Way to assess the state of the road. Later in business, traders at Makola Market lament over the introduction of the sanitation tax. The Entertainment International and others will come your way for the next 1 hour. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, the mortal remains of 10-year-old Ishmael Abdallah, who was gruesomely murdered by 2 teenage accomplices for money rituals, has finally been laid to rest. Our reporter Makiza Latifa was at the family's residence in Kaswa and has come through with this report.
Pain, anguish, tears, and agony were the expressions on the faces of all who gathered to bid farewell to Ishmael Abdallah, whose mortal remains was laid to rest at the Amanfrom Cemetery in Kaswa. In a solemn ceremony graced by family, friends, opinion leaders, schoolmates, and sympathizers, the deceased, who was gruesomely murdered by teenagers in their quest to get rich quick and live a luxurious life at his expense, has gone home to his maker. Ishmael's classmates couldn't hold back their tears as the body was moved from the hearse for the funeral rites to be performed.
I want to say that I hear that you have nice today, and I said they are lying. And I came to the school and I asked my friend. They said it was true. I was very sad to hear this bad news. Ishmael was my best friend. He also said they cheat anytime, so he was my best friend.
Spokesperson for the family, Samed Akalilu, told the news team that the family still cannot fathom how teenagers will engage in such a heinous act.
Still living in a state of denial that this has happened to this innocent son. This has happened to a family that is so peace-loving in the area, to the extent that perpetrators, at least some of the perpetrators of this heinous crime, could come to our house, to my sister, to feed. And so for us, we are still living in a state of shock. Yes, so for us too, we've also heard in the media. As a family, we've taken a decision not to go into the merits or otherwise of this matter. We believe in the competency of the investigative bodies, the Ghana Police and allied agencies that are involved. And we are trusting that they will do justice to the matter. And so whether one person is arrested or not, yes, we'll be happy that any step that is taken that is leading to uncovering the truth, the family will be happy. But we are not in the business of going into the nitty-gritties of this matter, because we trust in the Ghana Police Service that even if it's 1,000 people who are involved, they will arrest them and justice will be meted the family.
Assembly member for the area, Persis Kwashi, also expressed frustration and concern over the unfortunate incident. He also called on the government to create more opportunities for the youth and use the platform to wish the family well.
After this incident, the information I'm picking is that one of the boys, Nicholas, is a very bad boy. He's staying with his grandparents. We don't know the mother, we don't know the father, but he's staying with the grandparents. And last 3 days, Tuesday, I spoke with the grandmother. And according to the grandmother, the boy, about 4 months ago, stole some Alaji's money. He was taken to the police station. He stayed in the cells for about 4 days. I think that one of the biggest problems in my electoral area, and it seems not only my electoral area, is unemployment. Most of the youth are not having anything to do. Those who have completed even university are not working. And sometimes, like the old adage says, the devil finds work for the idle hands. And sometimes these are some of the things that happen. As an assemblyman, how am I going to create job for this number of youth? It's not easy. So sometimes the government has to come in. Yeah, they are scared, yes, and they are in a state of mourning too. What we'll tell them is that they should all be patient, they should be calm. Police are handling it, and such incidents will not occur anymore.
Queen Mother for the area, Manye Cheisewa I, also expressed shock at the murder of Ishmael Abdullah. According to her, the boys have committed an abominable act which has desecrated the stews of their land.
Anokwale abaka ko wonoko mo shini wona wole wonye watashi ohun yo fo yoju o wo gbe fo ile bi na keba ya wonu aka ka enme na wo gbe ken hu ko na ya tole then oji no wo gbe fo keba no ko ba ni na mere ko no wo ba nye yo fo yo ehun no doko be ni wo ba ka mu simbo esani wo sisani wo ha amla lo e ko ni amla lo ke ne ke gbe ken bi ne family e ni ji wokuni wo ibi ne aye ojogban keja mekele ye ta nani won wo mancheme won wo gbenanu wo yo won wo ka me baye ya keshin amejegbe ame wojibiku ye sipon ne no ni eba ameke mujiko eba na meka gbama na wa ewo won wo ka me ye saman wo ka me bato ye ne kesani ne ba ne.
A life cut short, dreams shattered, and a mother's heartache. Ishmael remains one of the many lives lost to the get-rich-quick syndrome. Pan-African Television will bring you further updates on the story as it unfolds.
Still on the issue of slain 10-year-old Ishmael Abdullah, the Member of Parliament for English Amanfrom constituency, Sylvester Tete, has expressed shock over the murder of Ishmael Abdullah. Sylvester Tete is pointing accusing fingers at the lack of censorship of television content and called on media houses to ensure such instances are stopped.
The news of the loss of heinous crime of a promising young man, bright future, his life has been cut short. I'm saddened, and initially the report was that it's Kaswa, so I didn't get it until a media house specifically mentioned Appiah yellow container, which I know it falls under my jurisdiction. So quickly myself and my executives had to move in to see the family, to see the crime scene, And we've made contact with the Divisional Police Command. We've all helped to make sure that we get the body for burial as Islamic customs demands. Today he's been buried, but it leaves a lot of job for us to do. I've just been speaking to a teacher of these two boys who committed this crime, and quite revealing. What we are to do as a society, as parents, is that we should look out for our kids and look out for questionable traits in children in their formative years and refer these kids for help. Sometimes parents alone cannot be so responsible or cannot take care of challenges like this. I understand that one of the boys is a social deviant, even back in school. And these are things that we need to look out for. I think that is quite unfortunate. In a neighborhood like this, in a normal Ghanaian setting, people will never think that such a thing will happen. For me, one of the reports that are coming is that they are exposed to juju men on our media space, and that culminated into such an action. These are all speculative. We can't be sure whether or not indeed that is it. Police are still investigating. They are still in police custody. They are investigating. It's also awakened the spirit of the country to enact our laws to regulate content in our media space. I'm a member of the Communications Committee as a Vice Chairman in Parliament. We have an obligation to ensure that the media law is passed so that we can regulate content to help curb some of these things in our society.
So this happens to be one of the many incidents that have happened. We might not have heard of some of them, but Ishmael, we have heard of his story. What really do you think may have accounted for this issue actually happened? Do you associate it with a system failure that we have in the country as a result of lack of opportunities and all of these things? A lot of conversations have come up. What do you really think?
Anybody who says that lacks knowledge of this country, at age 16, 17, 18, the best opportunity you seek for a child of that age is education. And we live in times where all their colleagues have had education from primary school to secondary school level, where further opportunity is given to the young people of this country, that when you get to the university and your parents don't really have money, you can access a student loan without anybody guaranteeing for you. So there is no country comparable to this in the sub-region. So when they say lack of opportunity, I can't imagine what they are talking about. So for me, I don't subscribe to that. The opportunities are fair to all of us in this country. So I think that let the police conclude their investigations. Speaking to these boys, let's know what really motivated them to go into this. But when people jump to lack of opportunities, crime rate in America is more than the entire African continent put together. But people praise American society. There's no perfect society anywhere. But I think that we must, as a matter of fact, enact laws so that we curb some of these things. If indeed it's turned out that he's been watching a particular television station and the way they advertise, when you do this, I'll get this for you. I got it here. I don't know how true that is. That this boy has been telling friends around that in less than a month you'll be driving a Range Rover. I don't know whether you've gotten that. So these are snippets of information that is useful to the police investigations. And let's know to which extent, who motivated him, how did he get the motivation to the extent of taking somebody's life. So I think that these are things that we should leave for the police authority to investigate. Then we can make a definite decision or position. Well, the way forward as a society, we must stay together, we must look out for one another, we must look out for questionable traits, even in our own kids, and report them for assistance.
You're still watching Pan-African News Radio on Pan-African Television. We are going for a short break. We'll be right back.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
first to McIntyre.
And don't think I decided Truman capsules and so at their brand.
I can't tell you what's a good deal to me, dear Mitchell.
At the account, now you're Beman and a wow.
Hey, Truman capsules. One mama ya bema bion.
Truman ye marime drew and mofra woni imfie dun watchi intumi num bi. Sa dwedi enkrato we FDA for hwemu agya tum senhye.
Welcome back from that break. Now let's do some more stories. A study has revealed that some strategic national installations, including the Jubilee House, Tema Harbour, Akosomo Dam and the Kotoka International Airport, are sited along fault lines and could suffer massive damage should an earthquake occur in the country. The last of which took place on June 22, 1939, killed 17 to 20 people and injured 133. An earth tremor which occurred on June 24, 2020, was felt in some parts of Accra, in Sawam, Swedro, and Koforidua, could be sign of an impending earthquake. Now, we've been joined on phone by Dr. Ishmael Norman, President for Institute Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us on Pan-African News this afternoon. Now, tell us, we're told that a study has indicated that some of our installations have been sited on earthquake lines. What's your take on that? What does that mean to the country?
I think it's a very important announcement that everyone should take seriously, because the Minister of Interior will not go out there and announce to the whole world that critical infrastructure in seat of government, ministries, are in earthquake zone, because it's true. Most of Accra are within the earthquake zone anyway. I mean, the whole area from Azim to Appiah. So we have to take it seriously.
Well, I asked an earlier question. What does that mean to the country? What needs to be done?
Well, the implications are many, but for now, cannot relocate to another location. So we just have to build to resist. We have to build earthquake resistance buildings. It can be done. It has been done in Japan. It's been done in California. But here in our country, a lot of people don't listen to official advice until something bad happens. They raise their hands in the air and cry to God for help.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
All right. So, looking at these installations that have been spoken about, the Jubilee House, where we can refer to as a seat of government is part, isn't it so worrying in a situation where we experience an earthquake?
This is the information that we have, but I think you have to go beyond the information you got from NADMO through the Minister of Interior, Amos Diary. I don't think these institutions are joking. They wouldn't come out. Their government is in power. They wouldn't do things if it's not plausible, if it's not possible. So we have to take it seriously. And I believe that that building is a modern building. I believe that it was well built. They spent quite a lot of money on it. And the foundation would probably be quite deep in anticipation, probably a magnitude earthquake of up to about 7.5 or above. So we cannot panic, because that was not the intention of the announcement from the Minister of Interior. I'm not speaking for the minister. I have not spoken with him, so I'm just saying that they wouldn't have built a building of that significance without taking all the precautionary measures to ensure that if there is an earthquake, for example, that the building would not stand the earthquake magnitude. Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, I'm asking that as a country, do we have any national policy on national disasters or disasters like earthquake and all of that?
Yes. We do have the National Building Code, and then that was developed by NADMO as a lead agency together with other critical institutions in the country. And then soon after that, the Ghana Association of Engineers also came out with a very good study, and even assessing the resilience in the country, bridges, roads, overheads, and so on and so forth. So we do have a building code, and the district assemblies are supposed to piggyback on the National Building Code, but this is where the problem is. Before you build, they give you a permit. All they are interested in, I'm talking about the district assemblies, I'm not talking about central government. All they are interested in is to collecting money from you, your permit. And the moment they collect the money, they don't go back to see whether you have followed the architectural drawings for the building or the structure that you have raised. They don't monitor what you are going on. They don't evaluate it as you are building. So it's a one-time kind of event. You submit your building plans, they give you the permit, and then you start building, and you can change things around while you are building. And that is where the problem really lies.
Well, the last, earthquake which took place somewhere around June 22, 1939, killed about 17 to 20 people. It's a situation we would never want to witness in the country. But looking at, what we are told in this, study, what advice would you have for the country?
Well, the advice has already begun that, we should take the warning seriously. As put out by Honorable Amos Diary, and that people who are building should ensure that they sink their foundations deeper, that they use the right amount of iron. Because if you don't use the proper amount of iron, we are living in what we call confined masonry. The confined masonry is very different from the kind of buildings forefathers used to live in. But a lot of people don't build them well. They don't have enough pillar distribution. They don't have enough what we call lintel. Instead of doing a triangular, a rectangular lintel all the way through, they will do a triangular lintel and use, instead of using 5/8 iron, they will use a lesser degree of iron. And so, depending upon the height of the building, will determine the kind of iron you should use and the distribution and the spacing between your floor and all of that. My biggest problem is the current kind of decking we are doing with the block infill with the pre-stressed beams. The pre-stressed beams are not suitable for our country. They are economical. I have used some on a building of mine, and I regretted it after I done it. And I'll never do it again. It's good when the building is not going to go up so much. But if it's going to be a high rise, you have to be very careful how you use it. And I'm not trying to destroy the market for people who sell in and block infill. I'm saying that for our current land situation, it is probably not the right building technology for us to use.
Doc, you agree with me that a lot of people who are putting up, buildings do not have enough education on some of these things. Don't you think that there should be some sort of education, for citizens to understand where and when to build?
The owners of buildings are not the ones who are building. They normally rely upon a contractor or a mason, and I think that there have been some effort by, for example, Gotham, to about the combination, sand, cement combinations, and so on and so forth. I think more could be done. I agree with you on that the education is not very deep. But a lot of builders do not actively seek for information. There are many, many architects and contractors around it, so that if you want information, they will be willing to give it to you at a fee, of course. And because we are used to cutting corners, and we like, any kind of investment we do, so long as the building is standing, it's a building. It doesn't matter how well you build it. We don't pay attention to many of these things that we should actually pay attention.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. We are so grateful for your time. We've been speaking to Dr. Ishmael Norman, President, Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. He's been speaking with us. He has mentioned some few things I would want to go through, especially his advice to persons who are building. And then to the nation, he talked about the fact that we have to take this warning very serious and make sure that when we are building, we look at places and the things we do to prevent some of these happenings in the future and all of that. On a policy with regards to some disasters, for instance, the earthquake we were talking about, he talked about the fact that yes, we have a policy, and he mentioned a few. He cited that of the one that is supposed to be taken care of by the district assemblies, but the only thing that is done by the district assemblies is to collect monies from people rather than making sure that these things are also well taken care of. We'll be crossing over to the phone lines and speak to Mr. George AC, Director of Communications for NADMO. Do we have him on phone? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us on Pan-African News, Mr. AC.
No, you're welcome, my brother.
You see, a study from your outfit has talked about the fact that some of the countries, institutions have been cited on earthquake lines. How true is that?
Yeah, thank you. That is very true. That was put out by my Director General yesterday at the launch of the framework for disaster issues. So we need to a framework for refocusing Ghana's earthquake preparedness and response. So yes, it is found out that most of our strategic installations are on the fault line. Which fault line we all know, from Gumuanyanyanu, all the coastal areas through to the Appiah Togo ranges, all the way. So it is very true, and some of them have been named. And as a nation, we need to be worried. And even though whilst we can be worried, we need to find a way to ensure that such installations are very well protected.
You talked about some of the installations that have been named. Which installations are those?
Yeah, my Director General actually mentioned the Akosombo Dam, which is the Wizard Dam, the Jubilee House, and then of course the Falebu Teaching Hospital, the 37 military hospitals. But most of the installations down south in the southern area and Accra virtually are all on the fault line. And so those are the University of Ghana to is on the fault line.
Okay, so now do we have a national plan in terms of some of these happenings? Should we experience an earthquake today? What plan do we have as country?
Yeah, that is why the president has put a technical team together to get a contingency plan, earthquake contingency plan, to be tied into the national contingency plan, so that in case of any earthquake emergency, we know what to do. And that is how come the technical group headed by a structural engineer, Madam Boshebit, did the work down, and the president has commissioned the document and tasked NADMO and all the members of the technical committee and the allied agencies in the emergency response industry to work together to ensure that the contingency plan is put together to guide us as a people.
So should we experience an earthquake today? What's the way out?
Yeah, should we experience the plan is today? We all know that it will be devastating because of the built population in Accra today. In 1939, when it happened, the population of Accra was just about 177,000. And today, about 80 years down the line, the population of Accra is almost 4 million. And the built area is also very expands, and so it's going to be devastating. Then the other danger is our two major health facilities, Celebrity Hospital and 37 Military Hospital, are all lying on the fault line. And so if they are hit, then it will mean finding an alternative outside of the zone, and that is going to be difficult. So what the components are pushing is that if we can have the Kolebu and the 37 types outside of the zone now, built for the future, then it will help. But for now, what we can do is to help save as many lives as possible if we have this thing now. Until then, we pray we don't have it now, so we can do the proper education and community sensitization before, if any such thing happens, it happens. Because if people have knowledge of the incident before it happens, they know what to do.
Now, see, once you've mentioned zones, do we have safe zones that in case of any disaster today we can rely on?
A safe zone, any disaster, flood disaster and cold, that's why we have identified safe havens. But if it's about earthquake disaster, that I cannot say we've identified any place within the fault zone that we can go for safety. What it is that you go to an open space. That's the advice. That when there's a earthquake, you run out, because according to the experts, the first strike doesn't actually break buildings or infrastructure. But the second one that follows, sometimes within 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, that's the devastating one. And so you can be alerted that the next strike is going to come within the next 15 seconds. So you can run out to an open space. But if it's within 2-5 seconds, they don't advise that you move. You hide under a table, because when you are going, the building can collapse and then cause severe damage to you. So these are what the experts are saying. But they are putting this together in a smaller document.
Can you hear him say?
As education materials in other languages. Well, so let's hope we can succeed in doing that and incorporate it in the Ghana Education Service curriculum at the pre-tertiary level.
Before you go, how often do you sensitize Ghanaians or educate Ghanaians on some of these issues or issues of this magnitude?
Yeah, we do it. Our officers at the district levels do it, especially those who about area which we know is on the foreground and co. But you need to have authentic documents, education materials to accompany the education that we do. If you go to meet a people and you are able to live and co with them in a language that they understand, it makes the public education and sensitization more effective than just going to talk to them and leaving. Because when you leave, they forget and then they repeat what you don't want them to repeat. And so sometimes when the incident occurs, they don't know what to do. But once we have educative materials accompanying what we go to do, it makes the work more effective.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. George A.C. Mr. George A.C. is the Director of Communications for NADMO, and he's been speaking to us on a study conducted by his outfit. Away from that story, the Temamoto against all intended purposes has become a death trap, endangering the lives of users, from unapproved routes connected to the motorway to indiscriminate construction along the banks to the incessant attitude of trotro drivers. The Temamoto Way has lost its original intent and purpose. In the following report, Bless Alomaso gives an account of the danger and threat to lives the motorway is posing.
Since its construction in 1965 by the Nkrumah government, the Tema motorway has gradually lost its intent and purpose due to human activities and the reluctance of successive governments to embark on major rehabilitation projects to improve the 19-kilometer stretch. Both sides of the road are replete with unauthorized settlement and slums, including the siting of companies who have flouted laid-down principles regulating the use of the motorway. The slums, consisting of kiosks and metal containers, are concentrated in the area from the Community 18 escape route to the toll booth at the Accra end of the road. A site riddled with gaping potholes, another major problem that also exists on the motorway is that of poor illumination. The many malfunctioning street lights on the stretch poses lots of challenges to motorists. Drivers also stop on the shoulders of the road to pick passengers, and despite this causing fatal accidents in recent times, this life-threatening activity continues. Unapproved U-turns and escape routes have also characterized the stretch. One of such is that which connects to Klagon, a suburb of Tema. Motorists are captured plying that illegal route with careless abandon. Ruben, a taxi driver, states his reason for taking that risk.
Traffic me back Klagon high and I say me banda bridge entina like me kwa fa shama at the traffic musa entina ema me fa ahan say the man enna me ka say traffic nintia enti me sorry and aba wie enti next time me fa bio
Kwame, another driver, also justifies his actions by stating that government ought to construct an off-lane to Klagon as done for those who reside in Community 18.
Yes, it is illegal, but they can make it legal for us. The way they did it for Community 18 people, they did a bypass for them. So on the motorway now, if you are from the Accra, they have a bypass that you bypass and fall out. So they should do the same thing for Ashama and Klagon. So they should create also a bypass for us. From the motorway, you can also get a bypass and then enter into Klagon and Ashama. Necessity is the mother of invention. When human needs something and you need it dearly, no matter what you do, if you broke, you will open. Let me give you an example. Have you seen hawkers along the streets? When he goes home and is hungry and doesn't get anything to eat, he will take apple and come to the roadside and sell, because the government does not feed him and he cannot sit in a house and go and steal. So you come to the roadside. You see, so although it's not approved, but it's necessity, we also need it. So the government should come to our aid and create a bypass for us.
Asked if he knew the legal consequences of his actions when caught, this is what he had to say.
Oh, you see, in everything there is the 10 commandments say that we have 11 commandments. The 11th one says, "Thou shalt not be caught." Disobey all the commandments, but obey only the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not be caught. So when they don't catch you, you go scot-free. When they catch you, you face the law.
The big question begging for answer is whether government and other appropriate agencies will continue to sit and watch whilst lives are lost on the motorway. Should the motorway be turned into a highway since it has lost its original status as a motorway? Bless Alomaso reporting for Pan-African Television News.
Well, still to come in business, traders at Makola Market lament over introduction of the sanitation tax. We are going for a short breather. We'll return. Welcome back. Let's do some business stories. Some traders at the Makola Market in Accra have staged a strong opposition to the introduction of the Bola tax announced by government to help deal with the situation of worsening waste management crisis in the country. According to the market women, they already taxed by waste collection companies and levied by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and they see the Bola tax as being overtaxed.
Accra generates nearly 900,000 metric tons of solid waste per year, approximately 67% of which is organic matter, creating a scene of landfill sites in many parts of Accra. In light of this, the government has introduced a sanitation and pollution levy called Bola tax of 10 pesos. This new rate is expected to be charged on the price per litre of fuel under the Energy Sector Levies Act to help tackle growing concerns over bad waste management in the country. Traders at the Makola market have expressed deep concern and disapproval to the introduction of the sanitation and pollution levy. They contend that the new levy is unjustified and a rip-off by government in light of the fact that they pay dues and other fees to waste collectors for the same purpose in the market. According to them, they are not ready to pay extra levy for sanitation when they are yet to see the full benefit of what they are already paying for.
You can license, you can take it. Edema or mine. Zumula and Flash Baba the year, but you must send on person Mubia. Now, it's TV ni radio say, or my penny or better soon and I could say. I get the phone in one, you ain't 1 CD. Yet it's free a taxi. Make me your mind about me, be son and now don't need MPP are buying say. Say, I want to know about it. No, I get the former no take it in a yet at Tiano. And then I had to tell free says he can with your boy as a son and now. And it's our lances na Yetiana. Say, Yan is idea, and then anano. Omo dia no pesi ke bi o de be saade no say yesika sha
wonya wo pay Bola tax eja ke wo pure ticket ache wo license you contact ba mi on machine ni wo leka shi de ticket na achi wo Bola ni wa che wo ticket e shi na che wo Bola be wo baba ju ebu abiye ka wo ya she wo bo biye da ni wo ya zula mu ka ogbuna ka be obe ba lo ona ni we ka gbiri wonya obe ya ba be be wo baba we Bola do na ka no tani ka wo be mo ni ba lu won wo piole bonu si wo te ni wo be ni wo baba ni Bola jo be ni wo lo wo so pay tax e ko mi ni wo blame ma pay tax.
They also stated that they do not have a waste container to dispose of their refuse and pay a daily contribution of 1 cedi to the Zoom Lion company.
Ya best na na amampeni say ya fana chow so kaso wotete sika free ya sika ya didi jom e de church Bola car me did say ya matan ebe hayen na sran bebre asenka no na obetia free ya yi sika kakle ni mu ne de enka me sran say amo foto flo na onfanye eno amen if it's a Bola no enya da bia na Zoom Lion for no best sa ewo ha no no pai sometimes say Bola wole aka asani ma me afa fale aka elaiba ka wo be wo buana ni asani Zoom Lion abalo ni one maje no down one watch your ticket ni wo pure tax income tax lampo license wole aka ne keni bi na fa ajo ye Bola mi ni bia ne ka wo be de ke meni tell you kaya Bola be do ba ba ohwe ka me ba lo na me na ni jo afi ohwe shipe ba abika me no e ba hwe because ami alo mo ko ma no ye eko ona ni ka me be wen ami lo asana mi lo no kaya shekule ba ka ke eyin ade ka we lo wo ke lu e be jole che o ke mo tele kaya Bola be ba chi ehwe ke fe de ke ame baba mi ke ni ebremo brewo me ni wo ho ni si je wo fio ona na gbele won pa government e fa ta se de ke pa agbe no la ka wa ba je wo pie le wo male won ye ja ke wo la ke di ska ji bibie na yo ye wo de aji o Bola ska ye mi won no kumetu le ke pa e ka ma fa won ye wo pay.
The traders, like many other Ghanaians, are not convinced by the government's decision to impose the Bola tax on what they described as already dire socio-economic conditions. They have therefore kicked against the levy and called on government to rescind its decision. From Makola Market, this is Joylinda Laye and Anastasia Hayford Arthur's report for Pan-African Television News.
The introduction of new taxes governed through Parliament has announced its intention to increase taxes and related tariffs. This, according to government, is to shore up current financial situation of the country as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Also attributing to this is the huge government borrowings, which has increased the country's total national debt. The usual cry and groaning associated with the tax increment has, however, died down. Is this a reflection of Ghanaians' readiness to accept these killer taxes? The news team went to town to find out more.
Some residents of Yosu Oxford Street shared various views on the tax increment. Mauli, a driver, said the taxes are abnormally high and this will affect livelihoods.
The tax the people you are increased, you are too much. In fact, look at the taxi that I'm working with. It's for someone. Do you understand? It's for someone. So if you've increased taxes and you've not increased lorry fare, you've increased petrol, how do you expect me to work and gain something to eat? Our leaders are saying that we have enough of resources here. So why is it that you people go in to go and borrow money at a place, and at the same time you people cannot work and pay for it, and you are giving the money that you people cannot pay, you are using it for tax for the youth of us to pay? Why are they doing that? So the tax that our leaders increasing things is too much. Serious, it's too much. It's not good. They should reduce things for us.
A resident of Osu wondered why Ghanaians are not talking about the tax increment as compared to widespread cries and condemnations during former President John Maham's government.
The reason why Ghanaians are not talking about it, like the tax that they've increased it.
Now let's look at the interbank cedi performance against some of the major trading currencies. That's all for business. Up next is international news. Welcome back. Now let's do some international news. A Palestinian-Israeli father of 5 was on Tuesday, April 6, shot and killed by Israeli army soldiers at a military checkpoint in the occupied West Bank. The incident took place while he and his wife were traveling back home to the village of northwest of Jerusalem in the West Bank.
The slain Palestinian, identified as 42-year-old Osama Mansour, and his wife, Sumaya, 35, were in their car when they were stopped by Israeli soldiers in early hours of Tuesday at the military checkpoint outside the neighboring village of Al-Jib. According to testimony obtained from Sumaya, Israeli soldiers ordered Mansour to turn the car around and leave after completing a security check. Once they did so, the soldiers opened fire, fatally wounding Osama, while Sumaya escaped with minor injuries. Osama was pronounced dead at a hospital in Ramallah. In the aftermath of the incident, the Israeli military released a statement in which it said that the corporal attempted to commit a car ramming attack, a claim that was emphatically refuted by Sumaya as well as other eyewitnesses. Imran Mansour, Osama's cousin, questioned the logic and credibility of the claim that a father of 5 children would try to commit such a crime with his wife in the car, particularly after complying with all the orders of the soldiers, having given them the couple's IDs and let them search the car. Terming the Israeli claim as ridiculous, he said the reality is that Osama was killed in cold blood. The soldiers who killed him will never be held responsible, and Israeli courts will protect their soldiers at all costs. Other witnesses also told Palestinian Wafa news agency that the soldiers threw a stun grenade towards the car as it was leaving, which led to Osama increasing the speed of the car to try and avoid any damage or injury from the grenade, following which the car was fired upon indiscriminately by the soldiers. Tuesday's killing bring back into focus the recent spate of such killings by Israeli security forces. These include the shooting of an autistic youth, Iyad Halak, and the murder of a young Palestinian named Ahmed Erikat on the day of his sister's wedding. The Palestinian Authority in a statement condemned the killing as atrocious and just one in a long and ongoing series of extrajudicial executions committed by Israeli security forces. The regular occurrence of such incidents and the impunity and protection that the guilty soldiers enjoy from the Israeli government and judicial system has led human rights groups, international organizations such as the United Nations, European Union, as well as world leaders to demand that Israel prosecute and punish those that are guilty of these crimes against Palestinians.
Credit to People's Dispatch for the international story. Next is sports. Now, Appiah Drafts will welcome 11 Wonders to Cape Coast in a crucial encounter, hoping to put their match week 18 blip against regional rivals Elmina Shark, while Ashanti Gold SC face a stern test on Saturday when they welcome in form Hearts of Oak to the Lenkley Stadium in Obuasi.
Appiah Dwarfs had goalkeeper Razak Issa to blame for last week's derby defeat to Elmina Sharks, but it is expected that the team will put his gaff behind them and summon everywhere to put 11 Wonders to flight today. The Crabs are back to the Cape Coast Stadium, where they have been comfortable and churning out positive results. Head coach Ernest Thompson Corte cannot wait to get his side back to winning ways after recent fine performances. In the reverse fixture, Dwarfs suffered a 2-0 defeat in Techiman, and so revenge should be high on the agenda. Wonders are 2 places and 2 points behind Dwarfs in 14th position. Also, informed Hearts of Oak will travel to Obuasi to face Ashanti Gold at the Leonard Clay Stadium. The Miners have been in tough times since 10th January 2021, where they beat Great Olympics 2-1 in Accra. Ashanti Gold have managed only 1 win in 10 premiership matches since that time and have dropped to the bottom half of the standings. The Miners are the 12th position on the log with 23 points from 18 games. Ashanti Gold have recorded just 1 win in the last 4 games at home but have lost once this season. Hearts are presently enjoying life under Samuel Bredu, who took over the coaching role in about a month ago and has guided the club to back-to-back victories. The Phobians, who boast victories over Wafa and Adriana Stars, have scored 6 goals and have conceded none in the process. Bredu and his charges are poised to keep the momentum going as they travel to Obuasi to take on Ashanti Gold. Hearts have not lost to Ashanti Gold in Obuasi since 27th October 2013, where they have won all of the last 2 visits. They are currently placed at the 4th position on the league standings, with just 3 points behind leaders Olympics.
That's all for sports. Showbiz is next. Now let's do some entertainment news. As part of activities by Pan-African Television to mark the Ghana's month of independence, we have dedicated the month of March to celebrate traditional dance. Today we'll turn our attention to origin and significance of the Adowa dance among the Akans.
Adowa percussion ensemble comprises several drums, including a pair of etumpan, an apentema, petia, dono, and bells. The two etumpan drums, tuned to an interval of a fourth or a fifth, are played with two hooked wooden sticks. The largest drum with the lowest pitch is associated with the female, while the drum with the highest pitch evokes the male. The atumpan is usually the master drum in the Adowa ensemble. The drums are sometimes wrapped in a red cloth. The apentema drum, which plays a rhythmic ostinato figure in the form of triplet, is struck with the hands. An Adowa ensemble comprises a lead singer, a chorus, and percussion instruments. The leader and the chorus are nearly always middle-aged women who accompany themselves with hand clapping and or with a dero double bell. The dancers use a symbolic language, the different movements of their hands telling their own story. This body language is accentuated by the use of a white linen cloth which they hold in their hand. The short dance steps are very subtle, drawing attention to the upper part of the body. This music is characterized by polyrhythmic accents. The dance is in compound triple time, and the accompaniment of the drums is interwoven with syncopations and cross rhythms. The bell plays a steady rhythm to which the chorus sings the responses. The lyrics of the songs express social and moral values such as chiefs who have passed away, grieving family, sympathy for the deceased, and issues woven around the very existence of the Akans.
Well, that was a special report put together by our entertainment team on the Adowa dance. That's how we wrap up on today's edition of Pan-African News. But before we go, a recap of our headlines. 10-year-old boy killed for money rituals laid to rest. Families call for justice. Key national installations, including the Jubilee House, identified as standing in the country's earthquake fault lines. We spoke to some experts on this particular issue. Also in this bulletin, we took a ride on the Tema motorway to assess the state of the road. Keep watching Pan-African Television. My name once again is Justice Appiah. We are out of here.